Hey, what's up YouTube? Alien Rides here, and today we're taking a look at a new company out of San Francisco.
All right, no. Enough of that. Enough of that, my show. Hello YouTube fam, welcome to another episode of Dread Skates. I of course am out here at beautiful Nowhere Beach, and today we are taking a look at the Wingmods Wev. Yes, you heard that right, and it's about as hard as you would think it is to say GameStop stock. Anyway, I know what you're thinking, but looks can be deceiving, and that is exactly what's going on here, because it's not what's on the outside of this scooter that counts, it's what's been done to it inside that got my attention. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Big shout out to Wingmods for loaning this one out to me. But before we get too deep into this thing, I only have one question for you guys. Can the stock Rev do this? Whew. Oh, it is good to be back in the studio. Oh, what the? I think I caught something in the warehouse. Oh, all right. Oh, much better. So, the boosted Wev. Let's talk about this. So, first off, who's buying these things? It's kind of a wacky concept, right? You have a dead brand with a now defunct product that is now getting performance mods. It's like a company releasing a brand new game for the NES, right? Well, not quite. So the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. You have a large portion of pre-existing customers who either have a Rev or they have possibly a broken Rev, and they were maybe a little bit disappointed with the stock performance of the original model. And honestly, let's talk about that, because like in some instances, like people were getting less than 10 miles per charge on this thing for, what was it, $1,800? I think it was almost $2,000 when it was new. So we have this new company out of San Francisco that is providing these kits that essentially kind of deliver on what probably the stock experience was supposed to be. And I think that's where a lot of the customer base is coming from now. It's not so much people buying these super powered like complete kits, it's mostly people buying like the drop-in replacement kits to either extend the life of their current Rev or revitalizing a dead one. Or, you know, people going out there and picking up, you know, like these busted or used Revs on like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and then popping these kits in them and having a fairly decent little performance scooter for a little bit less than you would pay for something like an Apollo or a Speedway or something like that. So for that, I think that's the biggest part of it. Now, for Wingmods, if I can put on my speculation cap a little bit, I think this product is for the most part not so much a flagship as it is a foot in the door towards other things. Kind of, you know, like how you have like RWB taking, you know, like these Carreras and 911s and then producing these very bespoke kind of one-off kits that kind of gets the brand out there. Wingmods is doing something very similar in producing a very specific product that offers a very specific service that will then eventually balloon out into something else. But I'm not gonna speculate on that too much. They do have a few other things I think in the works that they're kind of tight-lipped on, but I'm really hoping to see some more fun stuff from them. But you're not here to listen to speculation, you are here for the cold hard facts. So let's get things rolling with the specs, and here they are. Ooh. Okay, so let's get this out of the way real quick, and it's gonna be real quick because the thing is speed. And now, I'm not the biggest scooter guy, so I reached out to my friend Stuntman Mike, who is a fellow speed junkie who has a lot more experience with this type of things, to kind of take this thing out to the track and like push it as hard as he could to kind of see like how close we could get it to the advertised performance specs. And so Here we can see just kind of ripping around the park on this thing. And I think the fastest we clocked on the speedo, I apologize, the camera couldn't really pick it up too well here, was about 40 miles per hour. Now, the advertised top speed is of course 45, but I'm willing to say that based on the feedback I got from Mike, that there was still enough room left in the throttle to push this thing to that neighborhood. Although Mike's also a big guy, so weight and ride style is obviously going to affect top speed and peak performance in general. So moving on from there, things are going to get a little bit more pedestrian. So let's dive into what I liked and maybe some things that could use improvement. Now, first thing that I liked is probably the most stunning feature about this and perhaps the most unassuming, and that is the display. Now, to get you kind of primed for how nice this thing is, let me flash up the original Rev display. So you can take a look at this one. Yeah, nothing to write home about, right? Now, let's take a look at the Wingmods display. Now, this thing has been completely custom engineered from the ground up to and including the 3D printed bracket for the display itself. The PCB and the firmware are all specifically coded and matched to the Stormcore controller, and the wiring harness has been completely redone to actually make it work with most of the original Rev electronics. So if you wanted to go out and build one of these yourself, you couldn't. Like, you would have to rewire and re-engineer like all of that to actually make it communicate with the new controller. As you can see here, like, we have a much richer data set. We have enhanced telemetry. We have the core motor temp. We have the electronics core temp. We have watt hours consumed, which is much more accurate for battery life measurement. And then of course we have, miles per hour. I didn't actually check to see if you could switch that to kilometers per hour, not a deal breaker. And then of course we have the battery life percentile and voltage readout in the top there. So all together a fantastic little package. So moving on from there, of course, let's talk about the performance of this thing, because there is a lot of it. Now, again, I got the race version. You're probably going to get the Pro, but for a majority of my testing, I had it in cruise mode, which is basically equivalent to what the performance would be like if you got the Pro, minus the fact that if you really wanted to push it, you could push it up past 35 miles per hour. Now, the Pro advertises a top speed of 30 miles per hour, obviously. The Race can go up to 45. But while I was rolling around, like, just the torque and the responsiveness of the throttle and the battery life in general was all in line with kind of the advertised specs there. And I, for the most part, like, really appreciated, like, just how responsive that throttle was. Just getting around and like pushing this thing down the street and taking off from lights, it's just not sluggish at all. So moving on from there is the form factor. Now, this inherits all of the strengths from the stock Rev design, that robust frame, the rolled tubular frame, that nice scroll wheel throttle, that very thick steering stem. And that's one thing that a lot of people take for granted, is that even like on the Dualtrons, those stems feel very thin and flimsy when you really start revving up. But on the Rev, it's like thick. It is a thick boy. And I really enjoyed being able to like grip that thing, and it didn't feel like it was rocking all over the place when I started pushing the throttle up. So let's talk about kind of a middle ground point here before we get into some of the things that maybe could use a little bit of improvement. And that's the price. So there are two ways of getting a Rev. You can either purchase an upgrade kit for $1,500, or you can buy a complete for $2,500. And of course, both of these will be plus tax and shipping. Like I said kind of in the beginning there, I think most of the people looking to buy a Wev, and indeed, if you clicked on this video, you're probably looking into one of these yourselves and already did a bit of research and you're looking for some of the real world details. But $1,500, like it's not a small amount of change, but considering the significant upgrade that you're getting in terms of range, performance, and speed, that's pretty decent. But other than that, I think it's fantastic that Wingmods is kind of basically offering a lifeline to existing users. So for that cost, you know, that might be worth it to somebody. So moving on from there, some of the things that could use a little bit more polish, starting off with all of the good things that the Wev inherits from the stock Rev. It also inherits all of the bad things, such as the short foot deck, the lack of suspension, the rather dubious stem latching mechanism. I had it fall out on me twice, and apparently there is a bit of a trick to it, but the fact that it doesn't just work is a little annoying. From there also, like I want to zero in on that last bit, the lack of suspension. This is by far not the most comfortable ride. I can't remember if the tires are solid, but either way, once you get up to speed, you start to notice every little dip and bump, and that unfortunately is something that can't really be corrected. It would be interesting to see if Wingmods could come up with like a replacement front axle assembly that actually did have a hydraulic or spring suspension, but I think that would look a little bit too doofy. One of the other things is the stock Rev really wasn't designed to go much past like 20, 25, 30 miles per hour. So on the race model specifically, when you get that thing up to speed, you really have to lock in on it and really pay attention to where you're going, because it was not designed to handle at higher speeds. And like I said, that really narrow kind of short deck on it made it really kind of cumbersome to actually balance on. And so like I said, like it really is like steering a greased missile once you start jamming on that throttle. Oh yeah, and one other thing to mention here, which actually should go in the positive section, is we glossed over it, but the fact that this thing is being driven by a Stormcore 100D, which is a high amp dual channel motor controller, which by default means that now you have app support for this. So if you want to go in and change the settings or set up ride profiles or track your rides, there is a companion app on iOS that works with this controller, which is pretty neat. So in summary, would I get a Wev? Well, that's a bit of a tricky question. Do I think it is a decent performance upgrade, or is it a decent scooter in general? Yes. No, this thing was loads of fun. I loved taking it out to the garage and just doing burnouts and, you know, opening it up and having going out there with friends and, you know, taking it out to the strip and just doing peel outs there. Yeah, no, it was, if you are looking for a decent performance upgrade and you already have a Rev, yeah, no, this is a slam dunk. But if you're somebody just coming off of the street who's looking for, you know, like a high-end, like really fast performance scooter, I don't know if this would be my first choice, but it's definitely, I think, in the top 5. Against what? I don't know yet. I'll have to try out more scooters to figure that out. But as always, everyone, that was just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments there. You know, start a discussion. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm sure I left something out here. And hey, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you really, really like this video, maybe consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Lets me know I'm doing good stuff and you want to see more of me. So until next time, stay safe out there, Blade Riders. Peace.